But thankfully, and this is why you're all out here tonight, you came out of the lakes and the rivers and get the ruling class's attention. So what did we do? We said, let's go elect the loud guy from New York who says something honest and he says it bluntly. And he's not a politician. That's exactly right. And ever since he came down that golden escalator, the political class in both parties have been so upset and angry because he does something that no one else has dared to do. He tells the truth about the depth of the corruption of the American political class. In his opening speech, he said our immigration policies are dumb and they're bringing down your wages. That illegal aliens are killing our citizens in the streets. That why do we have open borders? He said, I'm tired of losing to China and that we're going to win again. And the political class said, don't listen to him. And the reason they don't like him is because they don't like you. He is a manifestation and your voice in Washington, D.C. We all know that the left and the Democrats, they control Hollywood. They control colleges. I know that all too well. They control social media. And we need to break up these social media companies. I'm telling you right now, it is so unbelievably dangerous what they have done to our country. They control so much of our society. But the one thing that they do not control, the one thing that the ruling class does not have power over is you. And it bothers them. The first three words of the greatest political document ever written in the history of the world is "We the people."
Charlie Kirk right behind us.
And President Trump gives voice to the voiceless. President Trump is the first president in my lifetime to actually fight for the rights of unborn children. The most pro-life president in American history. And now in 4 years, thanks to the grace of God, we might have 3 Supreme Court justices in 4 years. And we must support Amy Coney Barrett to be on the United States Supreme Court. For the first time in my lifetime, we have renegotiated trade deals. For the first time in my lifetime, we have a president who is unafraid to stand for religious liberty, who says church is essential and that church is more important than the Planned Parenthood down the street. That church is more important than the marijuana distribution center down the street. That church is more important than BLM Incorporated rioting and looting going down the street. That is who the president stands for. We are 39 days away from an election where if you're like me, you feel as if this election is not just the most important of your lifetime, but the most important since 1860. Where the Democrats, I miss the Democrat Party where they used to say nice things about our country. I miss the Democrat Party where they used to have flags and they used to say wonderful things about our veterans and our police officers, both of which we should applaud. Thank you for your service to our country. And I've had the opportunity to get to know the president very well. I've spent time with the president. I consider him a friend. And only President Trump, not a U.S. Senator, not most members of Congress, but a businessman billionaire from New York, would take, 4 years ago, a 22-year-old that never went to college, that grew up right down the street from here seriously. Because for President Trump, he considers all of you way more important than the experts that have been wrong about everything the last 30 years in our country. When he does his rallies, he's listening to what you're saying. When he does his events, he's hearing the wants, the needs, the concerns, and the anxieties. You see, President Trump is an embodiment of all of your worries about a decaying country. And boy, did they want to stop him. The moment he won that surprise election and we rose up in record numbers. And that was one of the most beautiful nights in 2016. Let me just say, when we win again, it will be the sweetest night that I have ever lived in my life. Because when President Trump won, they launched the most sinister and evil revenge campaign we have ever seen in our country. They spied on our president. They started a coup against our president. They launched within our own government the Federal Bureau of Investigation, going after a duly elected president of the United States. They impeached our president. They did everything they possibly could. Matters more than all of that. And President Trump, and if you are like me, I believe the hand of God is on President Trump throughout this entire process. As he travels the country, does 4 events a day, negotiating Middle East peace, rebuilding the American economy, and as if it wasn't hard enough, the Chinese Communist Party launched an epidemiological Pearl Harbor on us. We should never forget what the Chinese did to us, everybody. What they did to us was evil, and they must be held accountable for the virus that they inflicted on our country. And despite all of that, they launched BLM Incorporated in the streets. They tried to start a race war. They destroyed the economy by locking down, which will go down as one of the worst decisions we have ever made in the country's history, voluntarily shutting down all businesses and deeming certain human beings not essential. All human beings are essential. Despite all of that, President Donald Trump is in striking distance to win re-election, but it's not over yet. Massive shutdowns and the lockdowns and the virus and the impeachment and the spying and the coup and the fake stories and the leakers, all of that. The one thing they just can't figure out is you. They cannot figure it out. And President Donald Trump is the first president in my lifetime to take the crime of child sex trafficking seriously in our country. While Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden is trafficking women intercontinentally, getting a $3.5 million wire from the mayor of Moscow, President Trump and Ivanka Trump are ending child sex trafficking in our country. And don't expect the activist media ever to talk about that or ever mention it. Despite all of that, the president wakes up every day. When I speak to him, a kid from Chicago who never went to college, I'm like you, everybody. I went to Wheeling High School. That's who this president is, though. He doesn't care if you went to Yale, Stanford, or Harvard. He doesn't care if that you have the right doctorate degrees. He says, do you love your country, and are you willing to do something about it? Right. And when I speak to the president, he says the same thing over and over again. We have got to save this country because it's one of God's greatest gifts to this planet. He believes it at his core. I think of you so often because it is a tragedy what has happened to this state. There is something happening in Illinois where there is a grassroots effort to collect signatures to recall J.B. Pritzker. Every single person here must go and organize the churches, organize the community centers, so that we can get a recall vote against the spoiled brat J.B. Pritzker, who has never worked an honest day in his life. He has destroyed thousands of Illinois businesses. He has shut down unbelievable amounts of churches in this state. And yet, you know what? For J.B. Pritzker, it must be nice being from the Hyatt family. But for those of you that have small businesses in this incredible state, you didn't have $6 billion to live off of when our country was shut down for 6 months. When J.B. Pritzker says, we're going to try to be safe. It's a false promise that we could ever be safe. Instead, we should say we should be brave and we should be wise, and we are going to be strong as a country. And we're not going to believe J.B. Pritzker any longer and his tyrannical rule over Illinois. If you can force a recall vote, I would love nothing more than to see J.B. Pritzker spend another $100 million to try and run ads on why he is not a tyrant. If we are here just 40 miles away from the Wisconsin border, more or less, probably about 70 miles. That state very well could determine the future of the American Republic. What if every single person here said, I am committing today to go knock on 100 doors in Wisconsin to make sure President Donald Trump is reelected the 4 more years. That I am working today to make sure that we can win the 14th Congressional District here in Illinois. Do not believe for a second that just because you live in this state, it does not matter. And I can tell you something. I tell people this all the time. I'm not making any promises or guarantees, but this state can be flipped. I'm telling you right now, Illinois can be flipped. Believe it. The activist media is doing everything they possibly can to make you feel afraid, to make you feel scared, and make you feel ashamed. For all the young people out there, God bless you and thank you for being here. And for the adults out there, you should turn to a young person. You should say, I'm sorry for the mess that we are handing you. It is a real thing. Being 26, I can look at this intergenerationally. Shutting down the economy was one of the dumbest things we could have done to our young people in this state and in our country. Shutting down schools, canceling football. We are seeing suicide rates, antidepressant rates like we've never seen before. But for young people out there, it's true. We should open our schools. Fully open all schools in Illinois immediately. But for the young people out there, this is our country now too. It's time we take responsibility for this gift that we have been given. Don't blame other people for our problems. You know what? It's right. Our immigration policies are awful. The tech companies are spying on us. They've shipped our jobs overseas. They shut down our economy. All of that is true. But there's one thing that we have left that our founding fathers gave us. I'm speaking to my generation, millennials and Gen Z. There's one thing we have left, and that is an election. We have the ability to speak through elections. You see, the founding fathers who are being slandered in our schools, and as a side note, the media probably didn't tell you this, but President Donald Trump signed an executive order creating the 1776 Commission in response to the racist 1619 Project last week. We must make our kids love America again. We must teach our history and a patriotic core of our country. That for all the students out there that are being told, don't wear that hat. Wear 2 of them on the front and on the back. Because censorship is a real threat. It is. But the #1 form of censorship in our country is not from the government. It's not from tech companies. It is self-censorship. It's when you feel comfortable wearing the Trump hat here, but maybe not to Jewel Osco. Right? You wear yours there. She's tougher than I am, by the way. Tough. I love seeing these beautiful flags, but maybe not, I won't fly them in my neighborhood. They are trying to intimidate all of you to shut up. And I'm telling you, the silent majority can be silent no longer. This gift that we have been given, this incredible constitutional republic,
That's absolutely right about that,
is the greatest country ever to exist in the history of the world. We look at the mistakes we made. We don't deserve someone like Donald Trump, who came down from his ruling class billionaire lifestyle and has decided to fight for you. And now we have one more chance, everybody. A chance that you will remember for the rest of your life, whether you're 18 or you're 80 and you're here today. All of our country's history comes to this moment. What a time to be alive. What a time to be involved in this fight. Leave absolutely nothing on the sidelines. This opportunity that we have to re-elect a president who has done so much for so many people and has challenged the American political class is a call to action, the likes of which we may never get a chance to do this again. Because people say, Charlie, who do you like in 2024? I say, I don't know, there's some good ones, but honestly, Thank you. Still too young in 2024, by the way, so. But the left doesn't follow the Constitution, so we don't have to either, right?
Hey, what about governor, though? What about coming back for governor?
I'm not running. You run for governor, Gary, I'll tell you that much. You'd be a great governor in this state. I'll close with this. That this is still our country. Despite the ruling class controlling all the institutions, the first three words of our document that created our country, we the people, still resonate. So what are you going to do today to keep that republic? Benjamin Franklin said, if you can keep it. I'm telling you right now, I visit college campuses so you don't have to. You're welcome, by the way. And what we are doing at Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action is to fight and win that culture war. But I'm telling you, what is coming next is if you give these people power, they will destroy this country for good. The only thing we have left is to re-elect President Trump. What are you going to do? And the answer should be, I'm going to go knock on 200 doors in Wisconsin. I'm going to go make 1,000 phone calls. I'm going to contribute more money to the president and efforts that help him get reelected. I am never going to self-censor again, and I'm going to post on social media hourly until the president gets reelected on every single platform that I can. And if every single person here said, I am responsible for 10 people to go vote for President Trump, this is how the president won in 2016. We got outspent. The media misrepresented it. They sprung a certain tape a couple weeks from the election. They said President Trump can't win. But those of you, you wanted to send a throbbing middle finger to Washington, D.C. And you said, I'm so sick of the way you've been treating us. And it's true. In 2020, this election is about one thing. Who is in charge? Is Peter Strzok in charge? Or are the people in charge? Is Google and Goldman Sachs in charge? Or are you in charge? Is Joe Biden in charge? Or are you in charge? Is George Soros in charge? Or are you in charge? This is our country. We've been given this gift, everybody. Rise up. Do something about it. And together, we will save our country, re-elect President Trump, and make America great again. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.